Welcome to the Deep Dive. We cut through the noise to get you straight to the insights from research that really matters. Today, we're jumping into something pretty fascinating, actually. It's this paradox at the heart of large language models, LLMs.
Right, this idea that they're incredibly predictable.
Yeah, designed to guess the next word super accurately.
But then they're also kind of wildly unpredictable in what they might actually do or say overall.
Exactly, and that unpredictability, well, it opens them up to all sorts of unforeseen threats. It's a huge challenge if you're trying to deploy these things safely in the real world. So our mission today, give you a shortcut to understanding the real cutting edge of LLM security. We're talking about red teaming.
Which is basically proactively looking for these vulnerabilities, trying to break the model before someone else does.
And we're diving deep into a key paper here from Apurv Verma and collaborators at Bloomberg, NJIT, and Harvard. It's really aimed at technical practitioners like many of you listening.
Yeah, and what makes this paper stand out, I think, is how it frames the whole problem. It gives this really detailed threat model. But the unique angle is how it organizes the attacks. Not just by harm, but by the level of access an attacker needs.
Ah, okay. So based on what the attacker can actually get their hands on.
Precisely. Which is super valuable if you're building or securing these systems because it maps directly to practical security postures.
That paradox really sticks with me. Predictable yet unpredictable. What's the biggest thing people misunderstand about that, especially for security?
I think it's the sheer universality of these models. They're amazing at predicting the next word. Sure, that's their core function and it feels predictable. But because they can handle almost any kind of text, anticipating every single thing they might output. Before you deploy, it's basically impossible. You're building a super smart generalist.
But generalists, you can't fully predict in every scenario.
Exactly.
And that unpredictability, of course, isn't just theoretical. It has real-world consequences.
Yeah, right. Oh, absolutely. Think about it. LLMs can hallucinate, make things up, which is bad enough, but imagine that in legal advice or medical information.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Or they might accidentally leak personally identifiable information, PII. They can be pushed to generate misinformation or biased stuff, or even, toxic content.
These are the things keeping developers up at night, I imagine.
Definitely. They directly impact trust and safety.
So the paper's goal, then, is to help practitioners build what they call H3 LLM applications.
Right. Helpful, harmless, and honest. And red teaming is the key tool they focus on.
Okay, but before we get into the specific attacks, you mentioned understanding where these vulnerabilities creep in. It's about the whole life cycle.
Exactly. You have to look at the whole pipeline. Each stage is a potential entry point. It starts with pre-training, right? Learning basic language from huge data sets.
The foundational knowledge.
Then supervised fine-tuning, SFT, or instruction tuning, IT, where you adapt it to specific tasks like answering questions.
Making it follow instructions.
Then reinforcement learning from human feedback, RLHF. That's aligning it with human values, trying to make it safer and more helpful.
The alignment phase we hear so much about.
And finally, deployment, putting it into an actual app. Every single one of those steps. An attack surface.
So it's not just about securing the final product, it's securing the process.
That's it. And when we talk about harm, it's tricky, right? It's context dependent. Some things are consentive risks. Everyone agrees they're bad. Data leaks, phishing, no debate there.
Right.
But then you have dissentive risks, things people disagree on, like should an LLM tell you how to build a bomb? There's less consensus.
So practitioners need to define harm for their specific context, maybe using existing frameworks like NIST or OWASP as a starting point.
Exactly. You might use those, but maybe you add specific rules for your domain, like a financial LLM shouldn't give investment advice.
Okay, this brings us back to the paper's core idea, that threat model based on access levels. It's like a map of the battlefield for red teamers.
It really is. Picture it like nested boxes. From easiest access to hardest, box 1 is the outer layer. Application input. Just typing into the app like any user. That's the most common way in.
Okay, simple prompts.
Then box 2, a bit deeper, the LLM API. Now you have programmatic access. You can mess with parameters, maybe interact with vector embeddings, more control.
More technical, requires coding skills, probably.
Right. Box 3 is in-context data. This is about accessing stuff outside the main model, like documents used in array systems or examples given in the prompt.
Ah, so poisoning the information the LLM reads to generate an answer.
Exactly. And then the deepest levels, boxes 4 and 5, model internals and the training process. Now you're talking transparent access, seeing the model weights, activations, maybe even the training data
That
itself.
sounds like insider access or maybe state-level resources.
Yeah, generally the deeper the box, the more sophisticated the adversary likely needs to be. A hobbyist might poke at box 1, but messing with training data, that's often a much bigger operation.
It really paints a picture of the different threat actors.
And the paper maps specific attacker actions to these levels. Application input, box 1. Crafting tricky prompts, maybe some social engineering in the prompt itself.
Like the classic jailbreaks we see online?
Yep, LLM API, box 2. Exploiting parameters, maybe finding side channels, things like that. In-context data, box 3. Poisoning those retrieved documents we mentioned, or messing with the examples. Model internals, box 4. Actually modifying activations how the model is thinking. And training process, box 5. Directly poisoning training data or changing the algorithm.
That's a clear breakdown.
Yeah.
And they connect these capabilities to attacker goals using the CIAP framework. Confidentiality, integrity, availability, privacy.
Right. It helps understand the why. Are they after confidentiality, trying to steal model weights or user data?
Or integrity, making the model lie, generate malware, or send phishing emails.
Exactly. Or maybe availability, just trying to degrade the quality or shut it down. Denial of service.
And privacy, getting at that sensitive training data.
Yeah, think of a hostile journalist trying to make the model hallucinate bad facts. That's an integrity attack. But a state actor trying to steal the model's secret sauce. That's confidentiality. The access level dictates how they might try, and CIP explains why.
Okay, let's dive into the attacks themselves. Starting with direct attacks, interacting with the outside interfaces. First up, black box jailbreak attacks. No internal access needed here.
Right, this is where a lot of the public focus is and where things get really creative. It's that cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
You see manual jailbreaks, people just typing clever prompts, things like the do anything now or Dan persona, or prompt injection, payload splitting.
Splitting the malicious instruction into parts.
Yeah, or obfuscating it, trying to trick the safety filters. There are whole communities online, like Jailbreak Chat or Reddit, constantly finding new ways. Even if they get patched, it shows underlying weaknesses.
And then there are the automated versions.
Yeah.
Using the API Box 2 access.
Exactly. This is where you see LLMs being used to red team other LLMs. Researchers are building tools to automatically find these jailbreaks.
And a key challenge here is universal and transferable attacks.
This is a big one, especially for practitioners. The idea is you create an adversarial suffix, often just a string of characters that looks like nonsense. You usually generate this using an open source model you do have access to. But the clever part is, the suffix can then work against completely different black box commercial models like ChatGPT or Claude.
How does it work? It bypasses their specific safety training.
It often exploits fundamental aspects of the model or parameters exposed via the API, like legit bias.
That parameter again. The one that lets you influence word probabilities.
Precisely. An attacker can carefully craft a suffix and use legit bias to essentially force the model down a path it wouldn't normally take, overriding its safety alignment. It's a powerful technique for security researchers because it works even without seeing inside the target model.
Okay, beyond jailbreaking, what about inversion attacks? Stealing information.
Right, getting stuff out. There's data inversion, trying to extract verbatim training data. We saw examples where researchers got ChatGPT to spit out PII it had memorized. Scary.
Yeah. And related is membership inference attacks, or MIA, figuring out if a specific piece of data was in the training set.
Then model inversion or extraction, stealing the model itself.
Yep, getting the weights or system prompts. The paper mentions things like the softmax bottleneck, an architectural feature that can unintentionally leak information. And again, logit bias can be exploited here. With enough queries, you can use techniques like binary search to reconstruct the model's internal probabilities for different words. It's complex, but the paper calls it a surefire method for sophisticated attackers.
Wow. Okay. And embedding inversion.
That's about reconstructing data from vector embeddings, which are used a lot in RG systems and other LLM apps, basically turning the compressed representation back into the original data.
And briefly, side channel attacks. Exploiting design flaws. Yeah, these are subtle. Things done for efficiency, like data deduplication or maybe privacy filters, can sometimes accidentally create pathways to leak information. Or, like we mentioned with mixture of experts models, one malicious query in a batch affecting others. These vulnerabilities often emerge from the architecture itself.
Okay, moving up the access ladder to box 3, infusion attacks. Compromising that in-context data.
Yeah.
Poisoning the well, essentially.
Exactly. This is often called indirect prompt injection, IPI. The attacker slips harmful instructions into data. The LLM reads like a web page it summarizes, or a document it retrieves in a RAG setup.
You mentioned the Bing chat example.
Yeah, that was a classic. The LLM retrieved a web page that had hidden white text containing a prompt to push a phishing link. The user just asked for movie info, but the poisoned web page hijacked the conversation.
Shows how vulnerable systems connected to the web can be.
Definitely. Though poisoning web-scale data effectively is hard, it often requires significant planning, maybe suggesting more resourced attackers.
Next level, box 4, inference attacks. Access to model activations, model's thoughts.
Right. This is powerful because you can influence the output during generation without permanently changing the model weights. Techniques like activation engineering let attackers directly manipulate these internal states to steer the output, potentially bypassing refusal mechanisms, which can be surprisingly superficial.
So you nudge the model's thinking process in real time.
Sort of, yeah. It's computationally efficient and stealthy because it doesn't leave a trace in the model files. Also includes things like test time backdoors, especially in multimodal models, and attacks on tokenizers. Very useful for red teaming.
And the deepest level, box 5, training attacks. Getting access to weights or data during training. The most dangerous.
Arguably, yes, because the vulnerability gets baked right in. Two main types here: data-centric attacks or backdoors, poisoning the training data. Research shows even poisoning a tiny fraction, like 0.1% of pre-training data, can create persistent backdoors.
Wow, 0.1% is tiny on web scale.
It is. And you can poison data later, too, during RLHF. Embed universal trigger words, like a secret command that make the model generate harmful content when triggered later on. Very hard to detect.
And fine-tuning can also be a vector.
Absolutely. Even benign fine-tuning can sometimes accidentally erode safety alignment. And malicious fine-tuning can easily overwrite safety features with just a few bad examples.
What about model-centric attacks at this level?
This is direct manipulation. Transparent jailbreak attacks, for example, optimize prompts using the target model's own weights via backpropagation. Computationally heavy. Needs that internal access.
More sophisticated than the black box jailbreaks.
Much more. And you have direct adapters and model tampering where parameters are modified during training.
Finally, a really concerning area, compound systems attacks. LLMs plus tools or other LLMs agents.
Yeah, this is a whole new ballgame. Security isn't just about the LLM anymore. It's about the entire system. We're seeing emergent threats like self-replicating prompts, basically LLM worms that could spread through connected systems.
Worms, like computer viruses.
Kind of, yeah. Prompts designed to make the LLM output the prompt again, potentially targeting other systems. Plus, adversarial agents designed to persuade or manipulate. Testing components in isolation just isn't enough anymore. You have to red team the whole interacting system.
Okay, that's a scary landscape of attacks.
Yeah.
How do we fight back? Let's talk defenses, starting with extrinsic defenses outside the model.
Right, the first line. Prompt-based defenses are key here. Input filtering, output filtering, using moderation APIs.
Like OpenAI's moderation endpoint or Llama Guard.
Exactly. Also, clever prompt engineering techniques like smooth LLM to make the model less sensitive to small adversarial changes in the input, or even just telling the model to remember its safety rules. Perplexity filtering can also catch those weird-looking adversarial suffixes.
And certifications, formal guarantees.
Yeah, these are methods trying to provide mathematical proof against certain attacks, like erase and check for suffixes, or isolate then aggregate to protect ARG systems from poisoned documents. Good for black box scenarios where you can't change the model.
Okay, what about defenses inside the model? Intrinsic defenses.
The main one is alignment. Building safety in using RLHF, constitutional AI, and so on. This helps a lot, especially against generating harmful content directly.
But it's not perfect, right? Sometimes they become too cautious.
Yeah, they can be overly conservative, or the safety can be brittle, bypassed by clever attacks. So another key defense is adversarial training. Basically, you train the model on attack examples to make it more robust. There are lots of variations: latent adversarial training, targeted pruning, methods specifically designed to counteract fine-tuning attacks, sometimes called vaccines or antidotes.
And for privacy, against those inversion attacks.
Techniques like differential privacy during training can help limit what can be extracted about the training data.
It sounds like layering is key, which brings us to holistic defenses.
Absolutely. The Swiss cheese model, right. Stacking multiple defenses, input filters, output filters, internal alignment, maybe adversarial training. combining intrinsic and extrinsic.
Makes sense. Like defense in depth for traditional software.
Exactly. The paper also mentions multi-agent defense using multiple LLMs to check each other's work or collectively defend against an attack.
Interesting. Using LLMs to guard LLMs.
And finally, proactive architectural design choices. Maybe don't expose log probabilities easily. Maybe get rid of that logic bias parameter entirely. Design architectures that inherently avoid vulnerabilities like the softmax bottleneck. Thinking about security from the ground up.
This gives practitioners a lot to think about for actually doing red teaming effectively. What are the key takeaways there?
Well, the paper emphasizes being systematic. Use something like the red teaming question bank. Define the threat, the access level, the goal, how you'll measure success for each exercise. Structure is important.
And the balance between humans and automated tools.
You need both. Automated tools scale incredibly well for finding certain types of vulnerabilities. But human creativity, especially in multi-turn conversations, often finds things the automated tools miss. So a hybrid approach is usually best.
Same for using taxonomies. Stick to known attacks or look for new ones.
Hybrid again. Taxonomy guided helps ensure you cover known risks, but taxonomy-free exploratory testing is crucial for finding novel vulnerabilities that aren't in any list yet.
What about scale? Do bigger models change the game?
Generally, yes. Larger, well-aligned models are harder to attack successfully, but you have to be super careful with your metrics.
How so?
You need to ensure you're actually measuring safety, not just overall capability. A bigger model might seem safer just because it's better at following instructions generally, even if specific safety vulnerabilities remain. Metrics need to isolate safety properties.
That's a crucial point. And finally, preventing attacks from coming back.
Huge issue. Remediating attack recurrence. We need systematic tracking, like CVEs for software vulnerabilities, so that once an attack is found and patched, it doesn't creep back in with the next model update. Robust benchmarks are key here.
And dealing with false positives.
Yeah.
Mistaking hallucinations for attacks.
Right. That requires careful analysis, too, understanding the difference between the model just being wrong versus being maliciously compromised.
So pulling this all together, this deep dive really highlights how vital a proactive, systematic, and layered approach to LLM red teaming is. Understanding these attack vectors, especially through that lens of access level from Verma and colleagues' paper, seems absolutely foundational for anyone building or deploying these things.
Absolutely. And it's a moving target, right? The field is evolving so fast. We're seeing new threats emerge, constantly prompt drift, where attacks stop working, weird dual intent behaviors, hiding prompts in images for multimodal models.
And those autonomous agents you mentioned, creating system-level risks.
Exactly. The complexity is just going to keep increasing as these models get woven deeper into everything we do.
Which leaves a pretty big question for you, our listeners, the technical practitioners, the users, everyone involved with LLMs. How do we make sure that as these incredibly powerful tools become more capable and more integrated, our defenses don't just keep pace, but actually anticipate the ingenuity of the attackers? How do we maintain that critical balance between harnessing all this utility and ensuring uncompromising safety?